the source. Can we bet on the come for something that very well might happen, but we don't have any information. We don't have anything in the bank to say that it will. So again, this source is a concern, not so much because it's out of kilter, but because what we don't know about it. On the net corporate side, corporations had estimated payments in September 2. We're down at 10.6%. We've got an estimate of a 2.2% growth for the year. Clearly, we're not tracking on this forecast. The good news here is it's a rather small piece of the action. I would say we're probably 20 to 30 million off of the mark at this stage of the game, and we'll wait for some of the October numbers on this. But my guess is there's a downward adjustment coming in corporate, but it's not a big, in terms of dollar, adjustment. More importantly, once we get past those kind of issues and adjust the budget quarterly for whatever occurs there in the longer term. You can look back over time at the general fund, the Commonwealth, and pick any 5-year period you want, 5, 10, 15, 20. And like clockwork, you get growth rates between 6 and 8%. That is sort of the benchmark of where we're at. Look, going forward, mainly because there's no re-entry of consumer spending in the equation on the economy. You've got to rely on other factors to grow it. There is no real bounce back from the economy. It's a much slower, your speakers this morning alluded to that, a much slower progression going forward. That's all the national forecasts at this stage of the game. If you put all the practicing business economists in one room, you'd have 20 of them say that there's the possibility of some V turn in the economy. 20% would say, not going to happen, it's a double dip. And the rest of them, 60%, would say it is this U pattern. And I would attach it more to like a Nike U, not a real U, because it's lazy on that upside because of growth. So the paradigm shift here is slower growth going at. You look at these numbers, they're a third to 50% off of the mark of long-term growth in the Commonwealth. That is a huge paradigm shift in terms of revenue and how we conduct ourselves in trying to balance the budget enrichment. That's a much more important factor than the marginal changes that we had in 2010 going forward. And the reason for all that, as you can see charted on this, is there is no bounce back. In 91, you see the bounce back between 92 and about 96. You see the bounce back after 2004, and there's no bounce back projected on this. This will bottom out at some point in time, whether it's 1.6 or slightly higher than that for this year. But then you'll experience growth, but it's not robust at all. Okay. Again, I've mentioned all of this means that there's going to be very, very tough times on the budgetary front going forward. You look at 12, it's actually less than 7. 10, less than 8, or when we get done with it. So it's going to be some tough slugging. In the midst of this, we've got rising demands brought on by the recession that will hang with it. Medicaid utilization, all-time high, and will continue for some time. Unemployment, because we're now borrowing on the feds on unemployment, so that will become something the state's going to have to pay back as long as that continues into 10. And you've got the happenings in federal stimulus retracting at basically the end of 11 on the numbers. All of that is going to be tough sledding. Here's just a little tick list of things that face us as we go through this sort of treacherous month of trying to build a budget. On K-12 education enrollment, you're going to see a slight increase in enrollment. Probably those areas that are affected by BRAC seem to be the ones that drive it. On cost rebasing, it's going to be low. Principal drivers and cost rebasing, salaries, inflation are not there. You'll get some pickup probably on composite index changes. But my guess is somewhere around $200 million mark on that. Retirement, you saw it. You have 4 percentage points on teachers in the state system. Big changes in the retirement system. That's still on the state level, about $130 million a year alone to fund that. In higher education, we cut 8%, put another 15% on top of it. We've got $218 million in stimulus funding, propping up higher education at this stage of the game. The question is, from a policy standpoint, can we afford, once stimulus runs out, to make any reverse in that policy? And that's going to be sort of touch and go. So not a whole lot more you can do there. Student financial assistance is the #1 thing, and probably in higher education, Chev came out with a request for $59 million. State Council of Higher Education, Virginia, came out with a request $59 million for student financial assistance. It'll probably be the big ticket thing that ends up on Senator Colgan's plate. Medicaid, I mentioned utilization, all-time high, still growing. That it'll take some time after recession for that to tail off. And then the big single ticket item is what we call the FMAP change, dealing with federal stimulus. Medicaid with the state level is about a 50-50 program in the entitlement program. We pay 50%, the feds pay 50%. Under stimulus, that equation was changed. It is now basically about a 58% federal program to a 42% state program. That change is about $1 billion a year. It is big money. And on January 11th, that change reverses itself. We go back to a 50-50 program under current law. About 3 weeks ago, I would have said there's no chance that that will change. The problem is that Congress is all wrapped up on health care reform, not on this issue so much. And if they wait to spring to get around to this issue, then most of the governors of the states are going to, in December, January, and February, introduce budgets, at least for FY11, so they will have bitten the bullet, and then there won't be the pressure on the feds to address this. Lo and behold, in the fine print, at least of the bill that was going in on the House side, and it is an extension of FMAP through FY11. That makes, or at least I'm told, I haven't seen that from some of the national groups that I work with. I haven't seen that provision yet, but supposedly it extends to fiscal 11, so it's Creature Act, and that's about probably, with that change, of $300 to $400 million up in Virginia. So that would certainly be good news, because this is the big daddy on the block in terms of trying to go forward in the next biennium. On the state service side, mental health and Comprehensive Service Act, you see some real, actually some steadiness or declines in the mental health area. We've used a lot of their non-general fund patient fee capacity. Will probably be some demands on the general fund to make up with that. We've got some building under construction, so there'll be some new facilities coming online down the road, but that'll be a shared experience. In corrections, we have shut a couple of correctional facilities down, a juvenile facility down. The correction population, while still growing, is off of the mark of what we